We are live, Chair.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this meeting of the Western Area Planning Committee, especially those members of the public who are watching the streaming online. I'm Councillor Clive Hooker, and I will be acting as chairman of this planning committee this evening in the absence of Councillor Paul Barnett, who, as we'll hear, sends his Phil Barnett, who sends his apologies. We'll hear about that later. The members of the committee joining me this evening are councillors Anthony Amatharaj, Adrian Abbs, Billy Drummond, who's substituting for Councillor Nigel Foote, Paul Dick, Howard Wollaston, Tony Vickers and Denise Gaines. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming along this evening. The officers attending and presenting the application to the committee are Mrs. Deborah Inston, who's the team leader and development manager, Mr. Matthew Shepherd, principal planning officer, Miss Harriet Allen, planning officer, Miss Gaint Thomas, legal advisor, Thomas Radburn, who will clerk the meeting this evening, and I'm also assisted by Darius Zariazel, who will be the Zoom host. Before the start of the meeting, I'd like to explain for the benefit of those that this is being held both via Zoom and with councillors present here in the council chamber. The meeting is also being live streamed on YouTube so the public can follow the proceedings. Before we start, can I ask everyone present in the chamber to switch on their microphones when they're invited to speak clearly into them, and then switch them off when finished. Can I also ask everyone in the chamber to turn off their mobile phones or turn them to silent, and also turn off the sound on your laptops. Regarding the safety of this evening, if we hear the alarm, we must leave the building immediately, and please leave via the safe route and exit, which will be shown to us by the officers present. Please follow any instructions given by those officers. The assembly point will be at the Dolphin car park outside. To be consistent with our council meetings, I'd like to remind members that we are subject to the council's code of conduct, which requires us to uphold certain standards, those being respectful to each other and to officers and members of the public present. Members may not always agree with each other or with officers' recommendations, but I would ask that in any disagreements, we are respectful of others' views and positions. So now we move on to the agenda items, and the first item on the agenda is apologies. Mr.
Thank you, Chairman. We have apologies received from Councillor Martin Colston, Councillor Phil Barnett and Councillor Nigel Foote, with Councillor Billy Drummond attending as a substitute.
Thank you very much. Item number 2 is to approve the minutes. Members, we have 2 sets of minutes to consider this evening from our previous meetings. The first set of minutes are from the meeting held on the 18th of February 2026. Members, do you have any observations on these minutes, please? Okay. All in favour of those minutes? That's all agreed. They are approved, and I will sign them. I'll do that in a
Point
minute.
of order, Chairman. We need a proposer and a seconder for the minutes.
Do we have a proposer? We do. Councillor Abbs and a second, Councillor Vickers. Thank you. And we'll have the vote again. All in favour? Thank you very much. Thank you for the reminder. The second set of minutes is for the meeting held on the 10th of September. Any observations there? No. A proposer, Councillor Abbs, and second, Councillor Vickers. All in favour? Thank you. Those minutes are approved and I will sign them.
Sorry, Chairman, I abstain on the last set of minutes because I wasn't at the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor.
Just on a point of order, I think the second minutes, which we should be voting on, is the February one.
Okay, that was the 18th of February.
Yeah, you said the 10th of September.
Okay, thank you.
When you actually spoke, I know it can easily be done.
Thanks for that. Okay, item number 3 on the agenda, members, any declarations of interest, please, on these applications? Thank you, Councillor Drummond.
Yeah, on Faraday Road, number 2502139, Reg 3, I discussed this application for us tonight. I will consider the application afresh, and it's not a prejudice, it's not personal, but a prejudicial interest, and I will remain and take part in the vote. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Councillor Drummond. Councillor Gaines.
That goes to me too, Chairman.
Thank you. Everybody else, councillor Vickers, yeah, I thought you.
Well, I am on the Town Council Planning
Yeah.
Committee, but I wasn't at the meeting where this was discussed.
Okay, thank you. They are noted. Item 4 on the agenda, we come to the business of this evening. We have 2 applications to consider. The first application is 25/02139/Reg 3. This is the Faraday Road Football Ground, Faraday Road in Newbury. And the second application is application number 25/00572/Full, and this is at number 1 Bartholomew Street in Newbury. That doesn't sound familiar to people standing in the back. You're in the wrong meeting. So we just move on now. We just move on now for an introduction of what's going on this evening for those members of the public attending the meeting tonight in person or watching online are unfamiliar with the meeting format. I'll briefly outline the process for these 2 applications. The officers will present the application to the committee. The drawings, site plans and any deemed relevant material submitted on the planning file will be shown as part of their presentation on the screens in the chamber and on your tablets and laptops at home. I will then invite the representatives from the following groups to come up to the lectern in front. Each group will have 5 minutes to speak. The order of the presentations will be Newbury Town Council or Town Council will come up first, then any objectors, then the supporters, then the applicant and the agent. On conclusion of each submission, I will ask members of the committee if they have any questions of clarification on that submission. Members will not be permitted to introduce new material in their questions. I will then invite the ward members to speak. They will also have 5 minutes to present their case. Committee members may then have, at the conclusion of that presentation, to ask questions of clarification. The committee members may then ask questions of the officer's presentation, and then the committee will debate the application and vote, and a decision then will be made. Is everybody happy and understand the process this evening? No questions? Okay. So let's move on to the first application before us this evening. And this is application number 25/02139/Reg 3. This is the Faraday Road Football Ground application. And this is for the erection of floodlighting. Now, this is the West Berks Council application, which automatically calls the application to this committee for a decision. And just for a matter of interest, there are 6 letters of objection received. Mrs.
It comes to committee because it's a full application with over 5 letters of objection.
Oh, as well. And I understand because of the 6 letters, it does come to committee. Being a West Berks Council application, it's 5, not 10.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. So, Mr. Shepherd, would you like to make the presentation to the committee, please, sir? Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'll pull up the slides that I've got just to send you through on those. Councillor Hooker has already covered much of the first slide on there. So just going to speak in terms of the proposal. The application we're dealing with tonight is Faraday Road Football Ground in Newbury. They seek permission for the installation of 6 floodlight columns as shown there. So just to clarify, and it's important to note from the beginning that the application originally included a replacement of a 3G pitch. This element generated concerns about the potential microplastic pollutions to the nearby River Kennet SSI. As a result of these concerns, it was withdrawn from consideration. So what's being presented to you tonight and recommended for approval is only the floodlighting. It's come to Planning Committee due to the Council's constitution, which requires non-major applications. So this application falls into the non-major category that attains 5 letters or more of objections and is presented for approval to Planning Committee, hence why it's in front of you tonight. Moving on to the site location plan. So we see here the football ground in red related to the pitch and the establishment of where the floodlights will be, and the blue line, which is land associated with the development. Moving to the next slide, I'll show you some images of the proposed floodlights. They appear as floodlights should and look. They are nice and slim, 50 meters tall. You'll see on the right-hand side of that image on the screen is the base. So you can see the sizes of the base plates of the floodlights. We have next a plan which will show you the lux levels, so the lighting levels of the floodlights. The floodlights are positioned on the flanks of the football pitch, on the long sides, at the halfway line and the top corners and the bottom corners. The blue outlines shown on that plan show the light spill into the adjacent areas. So obviously the most and the highest intensity of lighting is towards the football pitch, and some light spill does occur to the outside, and that's what's shown in those blue lines. So obviously disperses and the level of lighting degrades the further away they move from the floodlights. Again, I'll just show you a couple of quick images. So we're here on the halfway line will be where the floodlights will be positioned. We're at the existing Faraday Road football ground. You can see here towards the south the River Kennet and the trees that bound the site to the south. So I won't show too many of the images. We know what the football pitch should look like. We were at the site visit as well. So turning to the report, technical consultees have raised no objections to the floodlights. I'll draw your attention to the update sheet, where the Environment Agency and Natural England have both clarified their position in regards to the floodlights, raising no objections to that element of the application. So that clarifies their position. Sport England raised no objections subject to conditions. Those conditions have been slightly modified in terms of those that relate to the floodlights have been included, others have been excluded, but those are covered in the back of the agenda report. We have received 11 comments in total, 5 in support and 6 objecting. The supporters highlight the history of the ground for football, strong local demand for improving facilities, the health and well-being benefits of improving facilities at Faraday Road. Objectors had a higher issue with the original 3G proposal, queries about the application boundaries, requested more comprehensive redevelopment information of the wider area, and issues in regards to the application documents. Most of the objections were about the 3G pitch element of the application. And those are summarised in the report in a lot more detail for you to review. Moving to the planning policy considerations of the application, the site is an established sports facility. We're in the settlement boundary of Newbury. The principle of enhancing an established sports ground is supported by policy SB10. The expansion of available time to play into darker evenings and the ability of football teams to meet higher league standards is considered a positive benefit from floodlighting. And the development is considered to align in principle with the development plan. In regard to the character and appearance, the floodlighting columns are appropriate in scale and character to offices. They are what you'd expect to see from a sports ground, especially a football ground. Their location is in an industrial estate. Their appearance is as expected. The light spill from the floodlights is controlled to a better extent by modern day LED lights, and would be expected. Many football grounds in the area that officers have experienced have similar floodlights, Didcot, Abingdon, and even Newbury, and from the floodlights at the rugby club, for example. So they are a feature that we'd expect from a playing field in a settlement boundary. The impacts on the character of the area and the nearby conservation area to the south, the river is conservation area, are considered acceptable, and the development accords with the policies in regard to its impact on design and character of the area. Environmental health officers have been consulted. They're content with the proposed development. They've recommended a noise management condition. Obviously, lighting will prolong the use of the football pitch into the evenings, so some management of noise and how the football pitch will operate has been recommended in the conditions, as well as a restriction on the timings, not beyond 10 and not before 7 a.m. in the morning. All very reasonable conditions to recommend. The closest domestic dwellings, I believe, are being created to the south, so that's the Magistrates Court development approved, so that's being erected as we speak. So south of the river is where the majority of the domestic properties are that may have some effect. We're happy with the light spill is acceptable. The site is in a flood zone. the floodlights have raised no objections from our drainage officers. The level they're on hard standing already. The level of development is considered acceptable to our drainage officers. In terms of ecology and biodiversity, the river to the River Kennet is a triple SI. The ecologist has been consulted. Their content, the ecology report, outlines the impacts adequately. They've reviewed the lighting lux plan that I showed to you earlier. They're happy that the light spill to the edge towards the river is acceptable, and the report covers the level of lighting that will occur at that point. Conservation officer raises no objection in terms of the River Kennet's conservation area. In the planning balance, the recommendation. The application is solely for floodlighting. All statutory constitutes are supportive or content with conditions. There's clear community benefits to officers in enabling longer hours of the established use. Your officer is in the view that the proposal complies with the development plan. No material considerations indicate that the application should be refused. The recommendation is therefore to delegate to the development manager to grant planning permission subject to conditions set out in the reports and in the update sheet. So there's just a slight update to condition 9, just to include reference to wider community groups in the wording of that condition. That's my presentation, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Mr. Shepherd. We now come on to the presentations of the attendees, and as I mentioned earlier, the first one up is the Town Council, and this evening we've got Councillor Vaughan Miller. Councillor Miller, nice to see you again. You know the format. You have 5 minutes. Do you need a reminder at 4, or you're well within the
2 or
time?
3. That's fine. So
I'll just get myself sorted here, and then I'll start the clock. And when you're ready, sir, thank you.
okay. Thank you. Thank you for invited me to speak today. Newbury Town Council adopted the return of football to the Faraday Road football ground as part of its strategy in 2019. We were delighted, therefore, to see children's and youth football clubs return to play there in 2023. In 24, we saw schools football return, and then in 25, after further ground infrastructure improvements, and after several years of sharing grounds at Brimpton and Lambourne, and more recently at Henwick, we saw the return of Newbury Town FC playing in the Step 7 League. There have been charity matches as well as a Newbury Women's Football Cup match also played at the ground. So it's truly a community football ground. This application is now solely to install floodlights. This will enable greater community use for youth, men's and women's football with midweek matches, as well as to allow training during the winter. I'd remind you that essentially this is just a replacement of the floodlights that were removed when the ground was demolished. A further benefit, which I'm sure the football representatives here will expand on, would be that the floodlights would be required for the club to have an eligible ground for Step 6 football, should they end the season in the promotion positions in their current league. I'm sure we'd all wish to see our local senior men's football club move back up the football pyramid and join our neighbours Thatcham, Kintbury and Hungerford, who currently all play in higher leagues. I conclude that this is therefore a very simple application to replace some essential infrastructure to the football ground, and it should be a very easy decision to support it with no real planning reasons not to. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Vaughan. If you could just wait 1 minute, we may have some questions. Members? No questions. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Now we move on to our objectors to this application this evening. We have 2, Mrs. Paula Sanderson and Mr. Alan Pearce. From the instruction I've had, and to the minute, he's arrived. Very good. Mr. Pearce is going to speak first, I think, for about 1 minute. Is that right?
Well, 50 seconds.
50 seconds.
Paula's going to have to, if you stop me at 50 seconds, but it will be.
Okay, let me just get myself organised. Right, when you're ready. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm speaking today specifically regarding the case officer's letter dated the 6th of March 2026. As this letter confirms significant amendments to the proposal, I am formally requesting that this document be uploaded to the planning register immediately to ensure full transparency. At present, I'm not formally objecting to this application, but my position is conditional that this letter is strictly adhered to. I'm asking the committee to ensure that any approval is granted in strict accordance with the case officer's letter, and this is to ensure the council remains accountable and to the community. Members, for additional information regarding the red boundary line, you may wish to question officers of the legal requirements set out in Article 7(1)(c) of the Town and Country Planning Development Management Procedure Order 2015. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Pearce. I have stopped the clock. Members, Miss Saunderson is going to make her presentation sat from the table. We'll ask questions, I think, of you afterwards, if that's right, Mr. Pearce. So I'll start the clock again. Mrs. Saunderson, when you are ready. Thank you.
Ready. I have the unfortunate position of putting in 4 separate objections to this planning application over a period where documents trickled through until a volte-face happened on the 6th of March. Objections centred around the requirements of your published planning applications, national and local lists of requirements, validation checklist published January 2025. This can now be referred to as validation checklist. The documents under appraisal tonight are 5 listed on page 48 of the public agenda pack as condition 2, approved plans, and I will suggest that we increase to 6 after amendment. In respect of document 3316, R01, listed as a location plan, according to the national validation list, it is not one, it is a site plan, as it has a scale of 1 to 500. So in my eyes, it is misnamed. You do have a location plan shown to you in the agenda pack, but I don't know why that location plan is not listed as a document for this planning application. A location plan is required of the national validation list and a site plan is required of the local validation list. The criteria for inclusion within red and blue lines is similar for both, and neither of these maps complies with the red and blue line criteria, and all objectors plus some councillors have identified this anomaly. A location plan must show the application site in relation to surrounding area to a scale of 1 to 1,250 or 1 to 5,000, and a site plan is between 1 to 200 and 1 to 500. So for ease of reference, I will now refer to the application site. The application site must be outlined clearly in red. The red line must include all land necessary to carry out the proposed development, including land required for access to the site from the edge of the carriageway of the public highway, visibility displays, landscaping, car parking, and open areas around the buildings. This criteria is not met by either map, as the land from the highway into the site through the bar barrier is not included within the red line on the location plan. Therefore, the red line needs expanding. Likewise, the blue line must be drawn around any other land owned by or within the control of the applicant close to and adjoining the application site. This criteria is not met on either map, and blue lines on both maps should be expanded to sit around the adjoining temporary pitchside buildings and all land to the west of the pitch, the wee stand, spectators hard standing, and perimeter lands within all fences. It is therefore, if there is an extremely good reason why this approach has been chosen, then a good explication is required. In summary, my recommendations would be that both the location plan and the site block plan are listed in condition 2. The red line on both are extended to cover the land access from the highway with displays and hard standing where workers' vehicles will be. The blue line on both are extended to cover the areas where the pitchside facilities are, as they're owned by West Berkshire Council and integral to usage. footage, and under condition 9, a map of exactly what lands are included within the Faraday Road football ground is issued in this document, as numerous previous maps vary within a bevy of documents produced between 2020 and 2024. With regard to the interface...
In conclusion, please.
Yeah, no, I'll leave it there. Thank you, Clara.
Thank you very much. Members, questions, please. Thank you. Councillor Vickers, Councillor Absent.
Mr. Saunderson, just, without getting into the jargon, what you're saying that we shouldn't be determining this because it shouldn't have been even validated because there were inaccuracies in the natures of the document in the pack?
Well, that's how what I've read out is what your validation checklist. It was reissued in January 2025. It's on a 2-year usual update. It was updated in 2023 and it went to a consultation.
Yeah, I mean, I get all that.
Yeah.
It's a yes or no I need. You saying it should not be being determined tonight because it wasn't properly
Under
validated?
the national checklist, this, if you like to turn around, Councillor Vickers, this is a location plan.
Yeah, I get it.
And this is a site plan.
I get it. Yeah.
And we only have this as a site plan, but it's called a location plan.
Yeah, I understand that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Vickers, you may get some clarification when we talk to the officers at the end. I think that's the place for that. Thank you. Councillor Abs.
Yes, thank you. I can see you behind me on screen, Paula, so if you don't mind, I'll look at the camera so I can, rather than trying to turn around and break my neck. It seems to, I think I agree with what I just heard, in that this is a lack of proper process, which is your objection. So you're not objecting as such to the lights or anything, it's just the process that you're objecting to, is that correct?
Yeah, because of the way that the validation checklist of 66 documents loaded, 57 came after it was validated.
Okay, thank you very much.
And
indeed.
there are inaccuracies in many of those documents. So there's a training need here.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Abs. We do. Councillor Dick.
Thank you. Mr. Pearce, sir, welcome back. It's as if you've never been away. So you were talking about a letter and you were talking about transparency. So it's a simple question for me. In the interest of transparency, what's the letter say?
It's a one.
You named it by date, that's all.
So, yeah, it was a 1 cent. I've got it here actually. It said, to who it may concern, this is to inform you that additional drawings, amendments, plans for the above application has been received by the council. The main changes to the application include the proposed development is amended to remove elements that are subject to objection. The amended proposed development is as follows: erection of floodlights. So basically, all the objections were against the 3G pitch and so on, and the red line. And I think Paul is making a big point, and I've made the point again by referencing the thing.
I just want to know what the letter was in, and you've told us, yeah?
Yeah, that's it. So if we can get that put on the planning register, can we?
Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any more questions for Mr. Pearce or Ms. Sanderson? Yes, we do. Councillor Jordan.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's at this time or not. At last week's briefing, Mr. Pearce asked the question of the officers. If the electric cable supplying the electric to the floodlights, he asked the question, why is it not within the red line? And my question is there any case law that says we were wrong in having the red line round the power source?
I think we'll come on to that
right,
when we
thank you.
ask the officer, not Mr. Pearce.
Right, thank you.
And I think there is an answer to
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
All done? Last knock-ins. Yeah. Thank you both very much for your presentation tonight. Thank you. So we come along now to the supporters of the application, and we have Mr. Danny Langford from the Newbury Community Football Group and Mr. Lee McDougall. Would you like to come up, gentlemen, and introduce yourselves, please, so as we know for the minute? Thank you. And what is your plan? Are you going to speak or share your time?
We'll share our time. I'll speak first, then I'll hand to
Okay, you've got 5 minutes in total. And if you could just identify yourselves, please.
Sure. Good evening, everybody. I'm Lee McDougall, representing Newbury Community Football Group.
Thank you.
And then we have Danny Langford, Chairman of Newbury Town Football Club.
Lovely. Thank you and welcome this evening. When you're ready.
Thank you. So clearly tonight wasn't content that we were hoping for. It's got a very different and revised scope, but still equally important. The floodlights are a key part of Faraday Road. For clarity, this is very much a reinstatement. Floodlights were installed in Faraday Road in 1963, and there were floodlights in Faraday Road for 50 years until, I guess, this council removed them in 2019. The floodlights are a really important step in terms of returning Faraday Road to what we had before. It does enable step 6, but it does also enable outdoor floodlit training and matches for youth teams, senior teams, and training and matches as well. And there's a real chronic shortage of those within Newbury. So while a 3G pitch would be a fantastic solution, these floodlights, please don't underestimate the importance of the floodlights to local community activity for evening matches. And just before I hand to Danny, just to remind everybody that November 21, this planning committee did grant unanimously planning approval for a 3G pitch and floodlights. I think Councillor Wollaston was one in that group, so you've already approved it once, so hopefully you'll see this is just a mere formality again, so thank you very much.
Thank you. When you're ready, Mr McDougall, you've got about 3.5 minutes.
Thank you. As Lee has just said, the floodlights are a vital part of where we want to go as a football club. I'm passionate about taking the new version of the club in a more community-focused way, expanding our reach to women's, youth, and certainly every side we can accommodate at Faraday Road. Next season, we look to include under-23s, under-18 teams in our remit, and we've recently formed a Newbury Town XLFC team, and it would be great to see them playing their home games at Faraday Road on an evening. The biggest problem for us currently is training facilities, as you may be aware. We currently are training in Hungerford, which is quite a long way out, on an evening at 8 till 9 p.m. So the floodlights for me as the chairman of Newbury Town Football Club would give us the ability to progress, but also to reach out to the community in a better way. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Members, any questions of Mr Langford or Mr McDougall? If we do, Councillor Abbs, thank you.
Yes, Mr McDougall. To the best of your knowledge, are the positions of the floodlights and therefore the associated power connections the same as the ones that were removed previously?
To the best of my knowledge, they are, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes, we do. Councillor Wollaston.
Clearly, this is a good move, but I question whether a grass pitch, which can only, as I understand it, be played on twice a week without serious damage, can actually resolve all your training issues and so forth.
I think it's 180 minutes a week, and I think with the men's team alternating, it's very different for children's football. So what we'd like to do is get more youth football down there. So I think with careful maintenance, you could use the evening pitch 2 or 3 times, as well as alternating at the weekends as well. So I think with careful management, it's definitely doable. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. No more questions. Thank you, gentlemen, for your presentation. Much appreciated. We now come on to the applicant, and this evening we've got Mr. John Winstanley. Mr. Winstanley, thank you. You have 5 minutes. You know the process.
Thank you for the opportunity. That again. Chair, members of the committee, thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. Sorry, I've just lost my speech now. Sadly not. This application...
I'm going to be fair to you there.
Yeah,
I'm going to start you again. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This application seeks permission for the installation of 6 15-metre LED floodlighting columns to serve the existing grass football pitch. Our aim is simple: to allow safe, year-round training and match play while ensuring the system is designed to the highest environmental and technical standards. From the outset, we recognise the sensitivity of this site, particularly given the River Kennet SSI to the south. Because of this, the designs have been shaped around one absolute priority: minimising light spill and protecting local wildlife and residents. To achieve this, the proposed systems uses FL11 LED floodlights, they're very good, I'm told, featuring flat-style optics and internal louver systems. These technologies sharply cut off upward and outward light, ensuring illumination is tightly controlled within the playing area. Light spill at the site boundary has been designed to be less than 10 lux, and modelling demonstrates, as we've seen on the plans, that no spill, or very little spill into, well, no spill into nearby dwellings or natural habitats. The system fully complies with the ILP guidance for the reduction of obtrusive lights for an E3 environmental zone, of which this is classified, and also meets standards outlined in BSEN 12193 and CIBSE Lighting Guide LG4, both of which are nationally recognised benchmarks for sports lighting. We have also ensured that the installation can be delivered responsibly. Initial investigations have confirmed that the existing clubhouse power supply will be sufficient, meaning no generator is required, reducing both noise and environmental impact. Foundation design will follow the findings of the ground investigation report and will be supported by a structural engineer's report to ensure full compliance with the varying ground conditions. Importantly, all 6 columns have been positioned to light the pitch efficiently, with lower level illumination in runoff area to support warm-ups and training. The lights will also operate within an assumed 10 p.m. curfew, aligning with good practice for suburban settings with relatively low existing brightness. In summary, the proposal provides a high-quality, modern and environmentally responsible flood lighting system. It will significantly improve local sports provision while ensuring minimal impact on neighbours and the sensitive River Kennet environment. I respectfully ask members to support this application.
Thank you, Mr. Winstanley. Any questions? For those members that don't know Mr. Winstanley, he is from West Berks Council. I didn't give him a title when he came to the lectern. Thank you. We did have a question, Councillor Abs.
So I just wanted to frame it in my mind. I think I heard you. You said FL10 floodlights. Sorry, FL11 floodlights. Is the number, is the designator? I mean, it just means LED. It doesn't mean 10 meters high or 11 meters high, or
no, they are 15 meter high.
Okay. Yeah. Right.
Thank you. No more questions. Good. We now come on to the ward members. As you might remember, the ward members here are, in fact, Councillor Nigel Foot and Stuart Gawley. No attendance this evening, so they will not be making a presentation.
I think Councillor Foot said he was on. Sorry, Chair, he's on Zoom, or was he here?
No,
Sorry.
I think
Oh, he's outside. Yeah. He certainly told me he was coming.
Oh, yes. Okay. Yeah. So we do have, I've just been informed that we do have Councillor Foot, so we're going to invite him in. Thank you. Good evening, Councillor Foot. Welcome. I didn't know you were waiting out in the wings. I do apologise. When you're ready, you have 5 minutes, and if you'd like just an indication of 1 minute to go, I will give it. You may find that or you won't need the 5 minutes. We'll see how we get on. When you're ready, thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good evening, members of the Planning Committee, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone. As members of the committee know, but members of the public watching this may not, I'm the portfolio holder for leisure and sport, and so I have been involved in the development of this planning application. Consequently, I declare that interest at the outset. I'm also a member of this Western Area Planning Committee, but because of what I've just said, I'll obviously not be sitting on the committee for this application. I'm here solely to address the committee in my capacity as ward member for Newbury Clay Hill. This planning application has been amended to remove the artificial grass pitch component of the original application. It now simply involves the provision of floodlights to the existing grass pitch. The addition of floodlights to the Faraday Road ground will re-establish the ability to host evening matches and training for both junior and senior clubs, something that's not been possible since 2018. This will be a great benefit to my local residents in Clay Hill. Residents who've supported Newbury Town Football Club will be able to come along and watch senior men's matches, not just on Saturday afternoons, but on an evening night as well. The club is well supported, with 200 plus supporters attending every home game on a Saturday, and many residents are able and do walk or cycle to the ground. Supporting the club provides a valuable social benefit, with many friendships either being created or re-established. The social value of supporting a local football club is well known. Faraday Road has already hosted a Berkshire and Buckinghamshire under-16 youth game, and the scope for playing more of these type of county matches in the evenings, not just at weekends, will be greatly facilitated by having the floodlights installed at the ground. In addition, floodlights will enhance the ability of younger boys and girls teams to play or train in the winter evenings. There would also be more scope to play other senior matches, for example, women's teams. The only limiting factor there being overuse of the grass pitch. To highlight this, I would like to quote from a letter I received from a resident in my ward on a different matter, but concerning the Newbury District Primary Schools Football Association. My resident says this: "Our under-11s girls team is made up entirely of players who attend schools within your ward and the surrounding district. They represent a wonderfully diverse mix of backgrounds, including families facing financial pressures." She goes on to say, despite these challenges, the girls have shown extraordinary commitment, teamwork, and resilience. Their hard work is paying off. This season, they're achieving top position in the Southern Counties League, progressing impressively in the Anglo-Welsh League Cup, and through to the semi-finals of the Southern Counties League Cup, which will be played in Oxford City in May, consistently demonstrating the kind of determination and sportsmanship that makes our community proud. It would be really great if young teams such as this could make the most of the ground on their doorstep when the days are short and dark. In addition, it would be great if Faraday Road could host cup finals such as the Under-11 Southern Counties League Cup, something I feel we should be aspiring to do. By approving this application before you tonight, you will be facilitating that opportunity. Thank you, members.
Thank you, Councillor Foote. Do we have any questions for Councillor Foote? No, thank you very much. Okay, members, it's now time to ask questions of clarification of Mr. Shepherd. Councillor.
Thank you. Thank you for your helpful and detailed report, sir. We've heard a question about some technicalities. When's a site map, not a map? When's it a scale map, not a, et cetera, et cetera. We all know what we're talking about. So do you, first of all, do you accept that there are errors there? And either way, are the material in terms of the decision we need to make this evening? Simple. Thank you.
Well, in terms of how the approved plans list is shown, the submitted plan is described as a location plan. That's what's presented to us with the reference number. So for continuity between the conditions, the condition number 2, we'd have to show the location plan is referenced as that plan with the plan reference. I think Ms. Inston is going to explain the red line issue in a bit more detail as well.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you, Councillor Dick. In terms of location plans that are submitted with applications, there is, Sanderson is correct, we have a local validation list which specifies a location plan and that it must show the application site in relation to the surrounding area and be based on an up-to-date OS map drawn at a metric scale, normally 1 to 1250 or 1 to 2500 or 1 to 5000 for a rural area. So it's normally, it's not required in legislation, a 1 to 1250 map, and I will draw members' attention to Article 7.1c of the Town and Country Planning Development Management Procedure Order, in which the requirements for a planning application is that the application should be accompanied by a plan which identifies the land to which the application relates and any other plans, drawings and information necessary to describe the development which is the subject of this application. There's also case law that has looked at this issue between the guidance which And I can refer to the PPG as well, which I think Mrs. Sanderson referred to. Paragraph 24 of the PPG, again, looking at, this is the national requirement. What information should be included on a location plan? And it says a location plan should be based on an up-to-date map, similar to our local validation list. The scale should typically be 1 to 1250 or 1 to 2500. But wherever possible, it should be scaled to A4. But basically, the location plan should identify sufficient roads and or buildings on land adjoining the application site to ensure that the exact location of the application is understood. In this case, when the application was validated, the registration team looked at the application, because you're in within Newbury, not within a rural area where you do need a much more zoomed out location plan. It was sufficient to identify, you had the names of the roads, you had the river, you could identify the location. So for the ALPA, it was sufficient. It's sufficient to validate the application. Can I make one more point about the access as well? Or in terms of the red line being drawn just around the football pitch and not including the access, again, there's case law that looks at this point about access. I won't go into detail about the judgment on the case law. Can't stick. But basically, it found that the PPG, which I just referred to earlier, is guidance only, and that it's not a legislative requirement, such as the Article 7, which I read out earlier, which is just a plan which identifies the land to which the application relates. It doesn't specifically say it has to be highway. It doesn't have to include the access. And because the access, there is no material operational development occurring on the access, and there's no change of use. So therefore, it doesn't have to include the access. And this is backed up by case law, Wyatt versus Fareham, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. But I asked, are there technical mistakes? And you're really saying no.
No.
Which is fine, because the second bit was much more important. Is it material in our decision? So you're saying no and no. And by the way, I've learned a lot. Thank you so much.
Councillor Dick. We come on now to Councillor Drummond.
Thank you.
And then we've got Councillor Abbs and yourself, Councillor Vickers. Thank you.
I'll repeat my last question. At last week's briefing, Mr. Pearce asked the question, if the electric cable supplying the electricity to the floodlights, he asked the question why it's not within the red line. And my question is there any case law that says we are wrong in not having the red line around the power source?
Thank you, Councillor Drummond. The cabling required to reach the floodlights wouldn't be considered development because it would be de minimis, so it doesn't need to be included in the red line. Thank you, Councillor. I can't, not off the top of my head, I can't think of the case law.
Thank you.
But generally, development is, the definition of development in section 55 sets out engineering operations, etc. being part of it. But because of the level of, it's a very shallow thing for the electric cable, it would be de minimis, so it wouldn't require planning permission.
Thank you. Councillor Abbs.
Yeah, thank you. It might be for Kate this rather than a planning officer. I was just looking here. There is actually a fair bit of case law, according to the internet, related to when red lines and blue lines are wrong. And
is this for the debate, or have you got a question?
No, this is a question.
It is a question.
It's coming. But if I don't explain what the question's related to, Kate won't be able to answer it, will she? So, so there seems to be a great deal of case law about when red lines and blue lines are wrong, and they can be challenged and are challenged reasonably regularly, and there are reasons. How certain are you, as the I guess the legal officer here tonight, that we really are clean on this one, and that you're happy to take what Deborah's done as gospel? Okay.
Mrs. Denson, you're going to take this one? Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This, the answer given tonight, and the fact that we are, yes, I can confirm tonight that we are satisfied that the location plan is complies with the requirements of legislation, and that has been discussed between myself and the development manager as well, and we're all comfortable with that.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Vickers.
Mine is, I think, for the benefit of both committee members and any public, I'm wondering what a Reg 3 application is. I mean, lots of the, the acronyms like COMIN, they're fairly obvious, but what is a Reg 3? I think it might be helpful to some people to.
Mrs. Winston?
Thank you, Chair. It's just a way of we have on our uniforms, this database system, suffixes that identify different, and it's an application submitted by the council. And it just identifies it being our own application. Thank you.
Councillor Wollaston.
Could I go from red lines to blue lines? Because I believe the council owns land outside that blue line. The car park, for example, land, I think, to the right of this plan as I'm looking at it. Why is that not included?
Thank you, Chair. Blue lines aren't determinative. It's, ideally they should identify all land owned by the applicant, but they don't always they don't actually have to. It's the red line, which is of primary importance, not the blue line. And if I just remind members, we had an application brought to committee in February for Western Lodge where we had a similar issue where the blue line didn't include all of the land in the ownership, but because it's not determinative, we have enough information to see relationship. It's not a reason to not validate an application.
Okay, well, Mr. Pearce and Mrs. Sanderson, you certainly generated some discussion here tonight and put the officers under some duress. Anyway, we're all quite happy now that the football ground is where it is and it's got as much ground as it said it's got. Now then, Councillor Abbs is coming back.
No, I was just going to start debate.
You're before me there. That's my next my next suggestion. Who'd like to take the debate forward? Councillor Abbs. Thank you.
For me, listening to this, and someone who basically ran on an election ticket of bringing football back to Faraday Road, which was ticked off some time ago. We're now talking about improving what's there, which I'm probably supportive of anyway. However, I am keen that we follow. We are a planning committee who are rules driven, and it is best that we get the right documentation in the best possible format. So if we've learned anything tonight, can we push back on those blue lines a little when the applications come in? It may not be relevant in this case, but it would be great to have that kind of clear for us all going forward. Having said all that, the floodlights seem to be in the same place as they used to be. They're a better model than they used to be, and therefore less looks going off into the environment. One assumes the power cables are still there, so we should be very little to do. I can't think of a planning reason to object to this, and that isn't a reason to go for it, but I am tended to be towards approving this application because I can't really think why we wouldn't want it if all of the normal conditions have been met. So
thank you for that. Councillor Dick, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So I'm delighted to see the clarity around the community use. I think that's really, really important. I have an aspiration as well as a senior county football referee. All the grounds that already have floodlights have blind spots. I'll tell you where the Hungerford one is if you want to know, but don't tell them I said that. And when we get to it, Chairman, I am very happy to propose that we accept this as written with the conditions as written, if that helps.
Councillor Vickers.
Thank you, Chairman. I've been tracking this long saga of the place of the football ground within the wider London Road Industrial Estate for more years than I think since before the century started. But here we are, and we're making a little bit of progress. I just regret that we couldn't go the whole hog and get the 3G pitch, but, we would have come up against a very, difficult position. It's always been the drainage situation on this whole area that's been the problem one way or another. I hope we can find a way of preventing the microplastics getting into the watercourse, but that's really, we have made progress if we were minded to approve this. And I'd like Councillor Dick, I'd be very happy to help this on its way and second, if members wish me to.
Any more contribution? Yes, we do. Councillor Wollaston, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I just feel it's very disappointing that the whole, or more of also a master plan approach has been adopted to this application with a view to just doing it on a piecemeal basis subsequently. It's, I think it's a missed opportunity. And in terms of the 3G pitch, I'm reliably informed there is a solution to plastics, which is surprisingly coconut shells. But in a plan, from the point of view of what's in front of us as a planning application, I can see no reason to reject it.
Councillor Abbs, you're back. Thank you.
Only so. Well, I think Paul wanted to kind of formally propose it. However, I would like to kind of take the request from Mr. Pearce about getting the documentations on the portal. It sounded as though it should be a matter of process rather than for and against. If we need a condition for that, can we include it, please, to make sure it happens?
Mrs. Simpson.
Thank you, Chair. I think there are no additional documents that were submitted. The letter that Mr. Pearce received was merely the letter sent out to contributors, consultees, parish council, etc., to let them know there'd been an amendment to the application. In the description had been changed to remove the 3G pitch. There were no additional documents. It was just the letter that we received is on file. I will check with
But that is all we have all sorts of letters go on the portal.
The letter confirming that the letter from the applicant requesting that the application is amended to withdraw the 3G pitch is on the website and available for the public. So there are no other documents that would be listed on the approved plans condition.
Okay.
Okay, all done. Okay, thank you very much, members, for that contribution this evening. So before I put it to the vote, Mrs. Thomas and Mrs. Inston, I think we can confirm, or you can confirm, there's no additional conditions that have been added apart from
the change to the condition 9,
the
update,
and also the recommend of including the community use agreement.
That's the one, the minor change to condition 9 in the update report.
So I go back to the proposer and seconder. You're happy with that?
Absolutely,
Yes,
Chairman. That's what I said when I said it.
Okay. The vote is for application number 25/02139/reg 3 for the erection of floodlights at Faraday Road. Mrs. Thomas, would you please carry out the vote?
Can I have the vote for those who are in favour? And those against? Okay.
And we have one abstention.
I'm abstaining because I'm part of the executive, so
fine. So how many have we got? We've got 9 here, 8 for, 1 abstention. So for people and members of the public that are watching this, then not unanimous, but unanimous of those that are able to vote. So it's 8-1 and 1 abstention. Thank you. Right. Therefore, the recommendation is to delegate to the development manager to grant the full planning application. Therefore, that application is granted. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everybody, for your presentation tonight. And I wish you well with your development. And we look forward to the lights going up and seeing the football being played down on the football ground. Thank you very much. Right. Everybody okay? Nobody needs a break? 8. Is it 8? Is it? Okay.
Come back now.
I think he's excluded himself for the evening, Councillor Foote, and yeah, so he's not coming back. Yeah. Okay, so everybody comfortable? Let me put it discreetly. All very good. Anybody want any water? No, we're all. Move on. That second application this evening is application number 25/00572/full. This is for the installation of an extract system to the rear elevation of number 1 Bartholomew Street in Newbury. This has come to committee due to, I think it's a ward member call-in from Councillor Sturgis. Just for interest there, I think I'm correct that the latest count was over just 4 letters of objection. Everybody sitting comfortably, therefore we'll ask Miss Allen if you would do the presentation of this application, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So as has been explained already, this application relates to 1 Bartholomew Street. It's for a proposed extract fan system to the rear elevation. The extract fan system is for a cafe, and this is relating, this application is relating to the external part of the flue, and it's within the Newbury Town Centre, and has been called in if recommended for approval. And there have been 4 objections. These objections related to concerns that there would be an unacceptable noise and odour impact on the residents above the cafe, as the discharge point of the flue is 1 metre from upper floor windows. This is the location plan, which shows the location in the Newbury Town Centre. Here, proposals are supported in principle by policy SP18, provided that development is appropriate in scale and character, high in quality, contributes to the centre's vitality and viability, and does not adversely impact on local amenity and safety. As this proposal doesn't relate to any change of use or increase in footprint, this presentation is focusing only on the impact on character and appearance and residential amenity. Just to note, there's been no objections from other consultees such as highways and flooding and drainage. So in terms of scale and character, it's important to note that the application is in the conservation area, and the elevations affected are adjacent the Grade 1 listed St Nicholas Church, but 1 Bartholomew Street is not listed. The flue, as can be seen on this location plan in the red, would be galvanised steel finished in black, measuring approximately 40 centimetres in width and 8 metres in height, and it extends 1 metre above the eaves of the building. Given the proposed black finish, it would match other downpipes on the elevations and be muted in its tone. So it's been considered also by the conservation officer that it wouldn't be an overly intrusive or modern feature in the historic setting. And the conservation officer has raised no objection. And they've also commented that they do not consider the interest or significance of the conservation area setting, nor the listed buildings in proximity would be affected. So turning to noise and odour impacts on, this is a view from the church grounds. So in terms of the impact on neighbouring amenities, these plans show the plan view layout for the extract system, and you can see the flue extends from the cooking area canopy through the ground floor window and then upwards external to the building. So the noise and odour impact assessments obviously were undertaken due to the proximity of the discharge point to that first floor window, which can be seen on the west elevation, the bay window there. The assessments were undertaken and both concluded that acceptable levels of noise and odour impact within first floor residential unit could be achieved, but with mitigation measures. The Environmental Health Officer has accepted the report methodologies and conclusions, but as was requested at the site visit, I'll just detail some of the mitigation now. So for the noise impact assessment, this assessed noise and vibration from a 1 metre point from the window. The rating level calculated without mitigation was 37 decibels. This was 12 decibels less than the existing background noise level. And they've also concludes that inside the building itself, it would be 27 decibels. But also it does recommend mitigation measures which are being proposed, which consist of an acoustic attenuator with acoustic media, which is a sound absorbing materials fitted to the discharge side of the fan, and isolation of the duct from the structure of the building using anti-vibration mounts. So this is accepted as mitigating noise and vibration. So in terms of odour, smell from the flue outlet has been assessed in an odour risk assessment, which scores the proposed system based on a range of factors. The scores led to a potentially high impact being identified, which required a high level of odour control. This is the technical extract layout plan. As you can see, an ESP unit, which is an electrostatic precipitator, is proposed, followed by a counteractant neutralising system. This unit essentially captures particulates and filters them out of the airflow, and the Environmental Health Officer has described this as a very high class of odour control. So the assessments recommend regular cleaning and maintenance of the system to ensure the mitigation measures function as intended, and this can be secured by condition. So overall, no material reasons sufficient to warrant refusal have been identified. The extract system would enable the continued use of a cafe that supports the vitality and viability of the town centre, improving its function for staff and customers, and without resulting in a material increase in noise and odour impacts subject to mitigation. and no harm to the interests and significance of the listed buildings in the area and conservation area have been identified. So therefore, it's recommended to delegate to the development manager to grant planning permission subject to conditions securing the proposed mitigation measures as set out in the agenda report. And just also to note in the, ironically from before, the suggested condition number 2A, the existing site plan drawing will need to be added, which is drawing 1500EX01 received 12th of March 2025. Thank you.
Ms. Allen. Right. We now come on to the presentations from the attendees this evening. We have no representation for the Town Council, but we do have Mr. Giorgio Marcello, who's an objection. Good evening, Mr. Marcello. If you'd like to come up to the lectern, you've seen the process tonight, so you'll have 5 minutes. And if you wish, I can give you just some notification when you've got a minute to go. Is
Okay. I probably won't need the full 5 minutes, actually.
Okay. Let's see how we get on. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. Mr. Chairman, members of the council. Thank you very much for allowing me to voice my objections. I would like to object to this proposed extract installation on the following grounds. First of all, aesthetics. The proposed installation is a large industrial unit. In the words of the conservation officer, the duct and extract appears to be quite large and will be very visible from both west and north elevations along the footpath from the Grade 1 listed churchyard. 2, location. The proposed extract will be less than 1 metre from a residential window. In fact, looking at your plan there, you did mention the bow window. There's also an adjacent window that is within 1 metre from this extract. So as you would have seen from your site visit, there is potential to relocate the extract to the left of the proposed position to lessen the impact on the residents. The third point is noise. The system will be noisy. The noise impact assessment recommends fitting an attenuator on the discharge side of the fan. Despite this, it will not, in my opinion, reduce the noise to a level that will not cause a negative impact to the local residents. Number 4, vibration. This is a large industrial unit. It's 40 centimetres across, the ducting that is, and despite the recommendation to fit anti-vibration isolators via vibration mounts between the duct and the structure of the building, it will still have some impact on local residents. My 5th point is odour. The risk assessment assesses the odour content as being high and the grease content as being very high, and a high level of odour control is required. Although odour control measures are recommended, such as filters, periodic filter changes, servicing and maintenance, my concern is who will ensure that the maintenance is being carried out as recommended and inspect the records to ensure that the system is working at its optimum and not below this, so as to negatively impact the local residents. And the 6th point is particulate matter. There will be fine particulate matter fallout onto local residents' properties as a result of this installation. And in conclusion, this is a large industrial unit which could potentially be in operation for 7 days a week, from 10 in the morning to late at night. So what I would like to do is just finish by asking you all a question. Would you like this industrial sized unit with all of its associated potential environmental impacts outside your window? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Marcello. Any questions of Mr. Marcello? We do. Councillor Drummond.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Marcello. Do you get any noise or smells from number 1 Bartholomew Street now?
I beg your pardon?
Do you get any noise from number 1 or noise or smells from number 1 Bartholomew Street?
Sometimes,
now?
yeah. Yes.
Are they recorded at West Berkshire?
I beg your pardon?
Have you recorded them here at West Berkshire?
No.
All right, thank you.
Any more questions? No. Thank you very much, Mr. Marcello. We've got nobody come forward for supporters, but we do have the applicant here this evening, Mr. Ertuk. Mr. Ertuk, do come to the lectern. As you know, you have 5 minutes, and if you do require notification, I'll let you know with 1 minute to go.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for having me tonight. Basically, just normal coffee shop or any kitchen need the extraction fan. When I plan to open up the first place, I want to put some Turkish food, but because it doesn't suck the smell really well, I couldn't put some fresh food over there, like fresh cooking or something like that. That's why it's basically simple kitchen need the extraction fan. I'm not really sure about the size or which I put. That's why my architect was dealing all them stuff. But for kitchen, we need the extraction fan. Especially when I try to put some Turkish food to show the English people some different kind of food over here. I couldn't do it because smoke goes inside the restaurant as well, and I'm losing the customers that way. Especially like when I first opened, I was doing it really, really good. And there is the inside unit I did is expensive. I have to change the filter every week, maybe 2 times, 3 times. If I don't change it, it does smell inside as well. And customers, especially Turkish people working in Vodafone, when they come in my shop, after a while, they clothes being start smelling because his smoke doesn't suck what I'm doing now. And that's why it will be really good if I can have it. That's all. I'm just tiny bit nervous. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Vickers. Just wait there, Mr. Ertug.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ertug. There was a question raised by the objector that this was going to cause odour and so on, other problems to his environment. Are you comfortable that you will be able to maintain the system once it's installed? It's one thing.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
If
So
I don't
that's not going to be. Yeah.
If I don't do it, it will be not good for my business anyway, because it have to be smoked to suck the smoke. If it doesn't do, if I don't clean it or call someone every regularly, normally I think every 3 months or every 6 months they coming, who's doing your extraction fan. So I can have a invoice or something to prove I'm doing every time.
So you're saying that it's not just the neighbour, the objector, that will benefit by this improvement, but by your own staff and your customers. So you wouldn't be doing it if it wasn't an improvement overall over what's happening now.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Drummond.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Ertug. Mr. Marcello stated a minute ago that you plan to open late at night. Is there any truth in this?
No. But when we are first open, we open the 7 days to see what customers, which day they like it. And I want to give the time off for staff as well. That's why we choose the Wednesday. So Wednesday is always closed. And when we first open 8 till 8, I just want to see how it's going. And now is 8 till 5, but summertime can be just, again, 8 till 8, but now it's just 8 till 5.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Abshire.
Yeah, thank you very much indeed. I just want to get a little clarification because it sounded, and confirm whether I've understood this right, it sounded as though you want to cook certain types of food but your existing extraction internal fan system means that there will be smell inside the shop. So you're proposing to put this external extraction fan solution on to shift the smell outside the shop. Is that a reasonable summary of?
It's just like something when you're cooking. It's not like biggest thing, like it's gonna be too much smoke. It's not. It's like even when I do the pancake, if I just put a tiny bit of oil on it, start smoking and what I put
No,
in.
I understand.
Yeah.
You were clear that there would be smoke and smells created in the type of cooking you want to do, and therefore you've tried to do it internally. It sounded like, and it made a bit of a smell, and which put your customers off. So you've come up with an extraction system to move the smell outside. Have I understood that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Thank you.
No more questions. No, thank you, Mr. Virgil.
Thank you.
Very good. Okay. We've got down Councillor Sturgis and Colston. Do we know if they are outside or they're not coming? So we have no representation from them this evening. So we now come on to asking questions of clarification of Miss Allen. Any questions we do, they're coming thick and fast. Prepare. Let's take Councillor Wollaston first.
You do it. I just want to clarify whether the design of this extraction unit, particularly on the outside elevation, means that where it all extracts to is sufficiently high above the eaves. Because if it isn't, there's a danger it could just all waft back down again, I'd have thought, as speaking as a layman.
If I can answer that, Chair.
Who's going to answer, but yeah, Mrs. Inston.
The proposal in front of you shows, obviously, it stops at a certain point, that the emissions from that point have been assessed within the accompanying noise and odour assessments, particularly the odour assessment. So it's been, the impact at that level has been assessed and deemed to be acceptable, subject to the provision of the necessary filters, etc., and the maintenance of the extraction ban. So there isn't any. We don't have any regulations that say how far it has to be from the window or how far high it has to be from the eaves, but the impact of its height as proposed has been thoroughly assessed.
I just think of not cooking for smells, but wood burners, for example. And there you need to get, I believe, the height of the stack high enough to not cause any problems.
As far as I'm aware, there aren't any similar regulations for extractor fans. It is just a matter of assessing the receptor and it's different with wood burners because obviously you've got fire regulations setting out how high they have to be from the roof.
If you don't
But
mind,
not that I'm aware of for extractor fans.
if you don't mind, Jim, just for clarification, I think what you're saying, or the officer's saying, is that there's something in between which will actually collect all the smells and so forth, and that has a filter which has to be cleaned out every week or whatever it might be.
That's correct.
Yeah.
There are,
So,
I mean, Harriet can probably explain the system in terms of how it stops, I mean, how it prevents odours from exiting, reduces them to an acceptable level.
And I can get that slide up again. So on the right is the technical extract layout, which is within the submitted odour impact assessment. And it contains the ESP at one stage, which is, sorry, get the pointer. So this is inside, and then the ducting would go through here. There's the ESP, which filters the air at this stage. And then there's a further filter in the ducting here. So it's got two filters. So and as I said, the Environmental Health Officer commented that this was a high level of control.
Miss Allen, just for the clarification of the members, could you put up the rear elevation of number 1? Just Mr. Wollaston, Councillor Wollaston's point there of, just so we all understand what he's saying. I understand what he's saying. As we can see, the cowl in there is just above. Do we know what distance that is? Not that we can do anything about it, but the distance above that window.
So it's what? Yeah, 1 metre.
It's got to be 1 metre.
No, it is 1 metre.
It is 1 metre.
Yeah.
There's no regulation otherwise. If you could just come back a bit. Yeah. Yeah, I see what Councillor Wollaston was saying. If it was higher, it might just, and the other gentleman said, as we can see now, there is a window facing that one. Yeah, we don't know if that's opening window or not, do we? It doesn't, not part of the issue. It's an opening window. Okay, so we get an idea of the layout there. And we can't place some condition to say we'd like it one higher because what's submitted is what we look at and we yes or no gate. Thank you. Councillor Dick.
Thank you, Chairman. I always take very seriously objections, and I've looked at this and I've listened carefully to what's been said, and we're getting specialist advice to say that this will mitigate the problem to such an extent that it's acceptable. And in the end, there's an element of trust in that. But I do look at condition 6. And that's a key one for me, because it says, if I recall correctly, that 2 months after the installation, if we approve it and it's up and running, that there are tests to be done to make sure that the system is working. Now, indulge me, please. What if they're not? What if the concerns of the resident, as expressed, proves to be correct and the expert is not? What's plan B?
So the condition is worded that it's to demonstrate that the odour and noise mitigation measures have been installed in full accordance. So it's not to test that they're working, but that they've been installed.
So is that potentially a condition, that there would be a check on the proper levels?
Mrs. Inson, we did discuss this one a bit prior to the meeting. You might just like to advise Councillor Foot on that. So,
Thank you, Chair. It would be very difficult to use condition to require regular monitoring of the emissions. That would be that would be more something you would easier to secure with a legal agreement rather than planning condition, because how long a period are you monitoring it over? For instance, it's a bit similar to monitoring nutrient neutrality mitigation measures. So it would be a difficult one to. It wouldn't necessarily meet the test, and it would be better to be a 106. But I don't think in this case it would be necessary. If the resident experiences unacceptable levels of noise and odour, obviously they can report that to the environmental health. That would be checked by environmental health. If that was exceeding what was expected, or the machine or the equipment wasn't working properly, then that would be a breach of condition, and we would then, the enforcement team, would then enforce that condition.
That helps.
would it help to say that if you ask for that to be a condition, your advice would be that we couldn't put it on? Let's just get
No,
that.
I would advise against a long-term monitoring condition.
I've got a couple more.
Sorry, there is a remedy there. That's should there be a problem, that's the important bit. Yeah,
there is. The environmental health team can liaise with the planning enforcement team.
Thanks for that clarity. I've got Councillor Drummond, Amatharaj, and then Councillor Vickers, and then Councillor Abs.
Yeah, one for the officer. There are many cafes and restaurants in the high street of Newbury with many people living above. Do you receive many complaints of noise or smell from residents living above next door to these premises?
Who's that to?
Well, whoever wants to answer it.
I mean, we don't have environmental health with us, so we don't have that data or in the room. But I'm aware there are some, but I don't know about the regularity or frequency.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Amatharaj.
Thank you, Chairman. Question to Ms. Helen, please. So as far as I remember, this shop used to be not a cafe always. It used to be a photo library. So my context of the question is, I wish Mr. Took all the best for this cafe, but it's just a question of aesthetics. What if this extractors permanent, or is something, if there is a change of use in the future, can we remove it? Is it possible for the next document to remove it? Yeah, it is is it something which is near to the listed building and particularly the grade 1 listed church? So just trying to understand, is it something which will be, once it's fixed, it will be permanent forever? And yeah, something like that. And then on the other point, Chairman, if I may, I recollect, Ms. Winston, that during the Waitrose application, it was told to us that there can be a condition where that can be a regular monitoring of that noise levels, if you recollect that from that heat pump. So I'm not sure whether the health and environment officer can regularly monitor, and she's monitoring because it's in my ward, and she's regularly monitoring. But I just want to point out, like, if there can be a condition that there is a regular monitoring, but that is my question on that, if that can be answered.
Mrs. Hinson.
Thank you, Chair. I don't, as far as I recall, I don't recall a condition requiring regular monitoring on the Waitrose site. The condition that we put was a post-installation survey condition, and the wording for that Waitrose one was taken and used for this one. So we used a similar wording to similar controls in terms of that condition. In terms of your question about whether it's permanent or temporary, it's an application for the permanent installation. It's not a temporary permission. So, thank you.
Is that clear to you? I think your question was, if it moved on, could it be
removed?
And would it be another planning application to remove it?
No, it wouldn't require a planning application to remove it.
Is that clear? Thank you. Councillor Vickers, thank you. We're there.
I mean, pursuing the same matter, I mean, we've only got one objector, but I think it's particularly important, and it's quite right that the ward member called it in, because one person matters, and that's what you have the member call in, I think. But years ago, when I was doing my building degree, I did some studies about the way air moves around buildings, and I'm concerned about the position of this flue being below the roof level, and how in certain conditions, which are quite frequent, the air actually goes down. Now, it may be that there's nothing we can do about it in planning. And of course, if you raise the chimney higher, it's more of an impact on the character of the neighbourhood. So you do want to keep it low. And it's beginning to look to me as though within planning law, we can't do much about this. So my question is, are we basically stuck with what we've got and with no ability to condition the odour, particularly? I mean, odour is a subjective thing anyway. Are we just passing the buck to environmental health and the poor old objector to keep on ringing them up? Or is there some way in which we can put an objective measurement on the distance from the window and the kind of, or the degree of smell, degree of odor? Because I'm not happy with this, but neither am I happy that we can do much about it.
Mrs. Innocent.
Thank you, Chair. In terms of the odour, how odour levels are monitored, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to answer that. That would be an environmental health officer that would be able to answer that. So I'm afraid I can't answer that. But in terms of the height that's proposed, obviously the environmental health officer has assessed it at that height and has concluded that the recommendations in the odour impact assessment are sound and can reduce the odour emissions to a level that wouldn't warrant refusal, that wouldn't cause unacceptable living conditions for the next door property. We couldn't, in this application, require it to be any higher, because obviously we're looking at the proposal in front of us.
So in summary, we have consulted environmental health. They've commented, they've got no problems with it, and therefore we have to accept that it won't be problematic to the objector.
Yeah, in the absence of any technical evidence to the contrary.
We've got one more, Councillor Abbs, yeah.
Yeah, the NPPF paragraph 191 specifically says that we shouldn't be approving things where there's unacceptable levels of air quality may result from it. So NPPF paragraph 185 requires planning decision to mitigate and reduce pollution, and decision should sustain and contribute towards compliance within relevant limits. Now, we're being asked to accept that the things that are being put on are within those limits. but we haven't, but we're not willing to test those limits afterwards. So I'm really stuck. So you're almost putting me towards the position, if we can't really do that, of saying no to the application until we can do it. And the issues that have been raised by the objector are absolutely solved. So I'd like some clarification around that. There's also the West Berkshire local plan, which talks about, which is directly applicable to one, and has a bit in there about town centres demonstrated will not cause unacceptable odour impact on neighbouring residential property. We're 1 metre away. The output is 1 metre away from someone's window. It's going to have an impact. And I'm really needing officers to give me some assurance here that we have estimated that the impact is going to be mitigated, and that we can test that in some way. And if you're telling me that we absolutely can't test it after it's been installed, just it's worked, but it hasn't worked properly, then I'm going to be going down the sorry objecting route to this application.
I think this was a concern that we picked up very early on when this application came in, one of noise, one of vibration and one of smell.
I could go on. I was going to ask
know,
about the dB's level.
Yeah.
We've estimated. Why aren't we measuring the dB level at the window?
I know this is your specialised area. And I think when we first, or certainly when I first looked at this application, I saw the discharge cowl a metre or 500 centimetre, whatever it is, above that window. And it's only my opinion, but I mean, when one submits an application like this, you're next to a listed building in a conservation area. If you're the architect drawing it up, maybe I'll put it in as low as I can. If you put it up higher, which I think if it was, we wouldn't be questioning this. The thought might be it's high in a conservation area next to a listed building. It might not get the officers.
Chairman, could I get any clarification from the officers, because the question was for the officers?
Yeah.
Is there anything they could say?
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, we're reliant on the advice of our technical environmental health officers, who have assessed the application submitted with the technical details of the extraction fans that have been submitted, and are satisfied that they would reduce odour levels to an acceptable level and wouldn't overly harm the neighbouring property. We could, if members were inclined to, not necessarily, we wouldn't be able to put a monitoring condition on in the same way that, over like 80 years or something, that wouldn't be possible. But we could put another condition on if members were inclined to, just to request, in addition to condition 5, which sets out that the odour mitigation measures recommended within the assessment should be implemented in full. We could then add another condition to say that for a management programme, monitoring and management of that to be submitted, and it to be monitored in line with that agreed programme.
Could I make a small suggestion? What I'd like to see is some testing done afterwards. You're testing whether it's working, great. But what foods? Now, we have the applicant here who knows roughly what he wants to produce, and we should be able to come up with, or the officers should be able to come up with a working plan to say, okay, if I do my pita bread like this and I get my smoke like that, and we can run a series of tests, and then it'll either work or it won't work. But if we don't have any empirical evidence, just a guess, can we not include things like that? That we would come up with a framework of tests in a condition or something like that?
Ms. Simpson?
We can really only require the condition that we've recommended, in that it should be installed in accordance with the measures, with the odour mitigation measures set out in the submitted statement. And obviously, in addition, like I said, of a monitoring plan that they would need to adhere to, which would be similar to the mitigation measures that are currently set out in the odour. But it wouldn't be possible to, it wouldn't be necessary or reasonable to expect regular testing of the air quality from that, because if we...
No, sorry, Deborah, I wasn't saying regular testing. I was saying a series of tests. It's installed, does it work? Yeah, well, let's burn some stuff, have it extracted and see if it works.
My thought on this, if it's worth anything, you put a bit of equipment in like this, you've got to do a commissioning test. And maybe the committee, I don't know, would take advice, could say we at least get a report from the commissioning test that's run. They put this in and they say it's going to be so many decibels and airflow and all the rest of it. I mean, it's a step forward if we just had a copy of the commissioning report that may then confirm noise and discharge. I mean, they must check that when they walk away and say it's now the installation's complete. I don't know if that's possible.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, we could expand on condition 6, the post-installation survey condition, which it currently just requires confirmation that the works have been completed in accordance. So we could expand that and say that confirmation should include the verification report should include the testing. Yeah. I mean that it would be a one-off testing of that. After that, environmental health would be.
We can discuss that in the debate and see if we.
Apologies, Councillor Abbs. I thought it was a regular monitoring that you're requiring.
Okay, so that's fair. Right, all done with questions. Lovely. So who's Councillor Vickers? Well done.
I think this is a really important application because I think the way that our town centres are going, we're going to have more flats above shops, which will become restaurants because it's not so much purchasing things as having an experience. And I have to admit, I have had a meal at this restaurant and it was an interesting experience. But then we are lucky now in our town that there are lots of these, if you like, ethnically varied choices that we can take. And so I think we've got to get this one right with these additional conditions. And I think it's been really useful having this discussion with officers. So having had that, I think we've reached myself an acceptable conclusion. And of course, it's not a black and white, will there be or won't there? There's a degree of subjectivity around this. And I have to admit, it's not going to be any better a life for the objector than it is now, or it may not be. And but is it reasonable to refuse just because of a slight increase in the discomfort of one person? And I emphasize slight. So I'm happy with what we are now, but I'll see what others think before we move to a proposal.
Great. I've got Councillor Amatharaj, then Councillor Abbs. Yeah.
Thank you, Chairman. I'll just make a small point that I think what struck me about this application was the applicant is looking to improve the conditions at the current state. So it's not something which has come up like, okay, just aesthetically or it could be an impact. It's just a improvement of the current conditions. And basically it's both going to be impacting the health and safety of that customers as well as the people working there, but also its business as well. So just a lot of material considerations and health and safety considerations. So all I'm seeing here is something which has to be technically correct, which we have discussed. So I don't want to go into it. And then I've got clarification for my question that if something happens in the future that they have to be repurposed this building, there's not going to be a major impact, they can remove it. So I think I'm going to support this application. I'm sympathizing with the concerns, but there are so many restaurants like this, and we had a lot of applications previously where there's people living near the pubs, and I used to live near a pub, like there's all not noise and odors, and it's part of the living there. It's like we need to make sure that it's like balance. So I think on balance, I think I will support, but I'll wait for others to.
Yep. Councillor Abbs, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. To be honest, anything we can do to help business in a town has to be a good thing, but the residents for me are just as important. So this is, in my head, very balanced. From the objectives perspective, I would just point you towards whatever we do tonight. There is the Environmental Protection Act 1990, Section 79. A statutory nuisance is the most powerful tool available to objectors. Under its section 79.1, any dust, steam, smell, or other effluvia arising on industrial, trade, or business premises and being prejudicial to health or a nuisance is a statutory nuisance. So actually, as an authority, if I put my authority hat on, we would have to issue an abatement notice if it occurs. So all I would say to the applicant, work really hard to make these measures as least impact as possible. It's the only way I can see forward. I actually don't like the fact that it comes out 1 meter from somebody's window. I mean, it's just asking for a problem, moving it to the other side, and it's going to look awful from the church perspective. It's right next to a Grade 1 living building, and it's going to be a big shiny silver tube going up the side of a building. It's not going to look pretty. But at the end of the day, you know, we can pass this tonight. I'm glad to hear that we're going to add some conditions to test at least afterwards. And I would, but I would continue to ask officers to work with the applicant to see if it can go a little bit higher, or it can go slightly the other way, or does that really mean the whole application has to be thrown out? So I'm probably going to support this, but the objector should know that the Environmental Protection Act is at your disposal should it not work out. So,
thank you. Councillor Abbs has brought a good point there. Does it anywhere in the documentation say the colour of this tube? It is a big silver shiny tube. Could we say, you know, we dull it down a bit with black?
It is to be finished black.
It is. It's in there. Yeah. So that allays your fear.
No, it doesn't. Paint it to make it look like bricks, then I'll be happy.
Oh, paint it like bricks. Okay. Councillor Dick.
My concerns were for the effect on local residents. I asked about condition 6. I think we've actually agreed in a roundabout way. It's very disturbing. I think if we could hear the wording that Ms. Inson is suggesting, I think we all might be able to be a bit happier. Not that that's important.
Well, I think this is a good opportunity to look at the conditions now. There was an extension, was there not? There was 6, and was there an extension to 4 that you were going to mention, and also the one of commissioning? Was there? Could you just go through what we've agreed on the conditions? We'll do it. Save us doing it later. But,
okay. I'll just mention before I go on to the noise, etc. Harriet mentioned in her presentation about a change to condition 2. And that was just a change in reference number for the site location plan. Is that correct, Harriet? So that's just an admin error change. The change that I've noted is the only change I've noticed is condition 6, which is the post-installation survey. At the moment, it just asks for a survey report to be submitted to the local plan to show that it's been practical completion, it's been installed in accordance with the manufacturer details. In addition to that survey report, we could add ask for details of an initial testing after first use of it, and we could get the results of that to ensure that it's working correctly. And if members are happy to delegate that back to officers to do that in conjunction with environmental health, because we need to know with environmental health what's possible in terms of the testing and everything. So if members are happy to.
Councillor Rouse.
Yeah, I just the applicant has mentioned working hours, and 8 till 8 sounds quite reasonable. Can we actually put that in as a condition that the extractor van will not be operated outside of his proposed business hours? To restrict it within the 8 to 8 then.
Is that okay, Mrs. Inston?
Yeah, that's entirely reasonable. So would members are suggesting between 8 and 8? Well,
Unless I misheard the hours. I mean.
Yeah.
So I think with the proposer, if they could set the hours that they would be proposing to.
Well, if that's the case, then I'm happy to propose with those 2 extra conditions in place.
Okay, so we got a proposer with Councillor Abbs. Do I have a second? Councillor Amatraj. Good. So any more debate before we put it to the vote? So I think we've covered the conditions, which I normally do, but all the conditions, both the proposer and second, are now happy with. So I'll ask Mrs. Thomas, please, to conduct the vote with the proposer being Councillor Abbs and Councillor Amatraj as the second.
So by show of hands, can I have those who are in favour? And anyone objecting or abstaining? No?
For everybody watching this online, that's unanimous. Congratulations, that application has been approved, and we wish you well with your business, and the installation goes well with no hiccups, and we look forward to seeing the commissioning report.
Thank you very much.
Okay, members, if you just hold fire just for a minute until the Zoom meeting is closed, and thank you all for your contributions this evening, and safe journey home.
Broadcast has ended, Chair.